formula. All right.
With your host, Janelle on 1460 WVOX.
All right, and we're back. And if you'd like
Yes.
to watch this live stream, we're on Facebook on my page, my personal page. Just look up Janelle Alberton and you'll see it streaming. It's the Jazz Singer account. So click on the icon that shows me on stage, because I've got two Facebook accounts. One for more, I don't know, serious topics like journalism and things.
That's a good thing.
I'm not a journalist, but and the other one for my performance. So I'm streaming on the Jazz Performance account. So my guest is Edward Eways, and we're going to go right back to where we left off at the end of the previous segment. And yeah, go ahead. You were
yes, talking about my father.
based in Port Chester.
Born and raised in Port Chester High School graduate. Definitely a local person out of Port Chester, and I learned a lot of lessons from my father in his business, sitting in his offices when his nightclub was closed, when he was doing things in the public and doing things for the youth and doing many things even in politics. So I was blessed enough to transition that into public speaking, empowerment speaking, doing events for local charities, teaching the formulas that we developed over the years that brought unity to many groups, and try to bridge the gap between different parties and give them something that everyone can embrace, whether it was unity, empowerment, or whatever the pulse of the community needed at the time. And that's very important. You have to know the need, and we are all in a service occupation. If you're doing public speaking, or as you are a musician or a radio show host, or any kind of work, we are serving. And I think that's extremely important, to have that humility to understand whatever accolades or whatever things that we garnish from our projects, things that we do. We have to remember we are in a service occupation for each other. And if anything COVID taught me afterwards is that we have to be more honest with each other, and we have to listen to each other more, and be very careful with misinformation, and be very careful with judging. I think we were 2 years ago when we were talking, I remember some of the things that we were talking about is how we need to connect with each other. And then we were asked to disconnect with each other, which was very foreign, because human beings are supposed to connect. So now that we're having the opportunity again, in the most part, to get back to normal, and I feel in a lot of ways we are, we have to take the time to try to listen to each other more and be more honest with each other, because the only way to solve things and to find a solution is through the honesty. And we have to understand that. And I always tell people, be yourself, tell yourself things, you're valuable, be your authentic self. And the idea is we have these gifts that people give us, that God gives us, and we have them and the idea is to take those gifts and push them outward into the community if they're positive, and share that. And I think that's an extremely important tool. And if anything COVID's taught me is to do that much more.
That's beautiful. I agree with you. We were told to disconnect and stay home and save lives. Was one of the mottos.
6 feet. And
I like the way people figured out how to stay connected. I put on a performance via Zoom.
Technology.
I emailed some people, and I created a ticket on Eventbrite.
Great, I remember. Yeah, Eventbrite.
And
Absolutely.
they bought tickets, and I had a guy named Bernie Frischman, who was all the way out in Long Island. He actually ran the show, and my friend John Smith and I gave a duo performance, and it was kind of cool. And it was a real challenge of technology for me to learn, how to use a mixer, and how so many points along the line could go wrong.
Ain't that the truth? I've had that experience, especially when it came to social media and using technology to kind of get my voice out.
I think a lot of people upgraded their skills
Oh, yeah.
in social media and technology to continue feeling heard.
Mm-hmm.
I was grateful to have the show. I was able to do the show from home on the phone.
That's wonderful.
But there's nothing like just being here in the flesh.
100%. There's nothing that's social media is a double-edged sword, in my opinion, as we know. But if you're able to utilize it to put out positive content, and I think we need a lot more of that. Like, this is positive content.
Mm-hmm.
And I became a little bit of a nerd over the last couple of years in my face in social media and Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and all the avenues to get content out. But it's important to balance that with positivity. Make sure what you're putting out is positive. Yeah.
So we talked about before what you were doing before social media.
Oh,
you
my
were
goodness, yes.
your first
yeah.
foray into mass communication. Tell us about that.
I literally had no car, and I would walk from school to school, from office to office, with pitching ideas of events. This is 20-something years ago. And flyers, and also and word of mouth. See, word of mouth, even to this day, is the greatest way of promotion.
Sure.
And I was very pesky but polite. And I think there's an art to that, where you're always in someone's face trying to push something that's positive, but always persistent. But be nice about it, where they're angry at you, but they're not angry at you because you're so nice about it.
They're
right?
like, oh, he's back.
And
with his smiling face.
Absolutely. And obviously, you have to have a passion for what you do. You have to believe in what you're doing, because people will feel that.
Right.
And I everything I've ever been blessed to do with the people, and I've been blessed to be around spectacular people, including yourself,
No, I think you.
And they are acted as real mentors to me, and I took a lot of what they taught me in their lessons. Of even when you fail, you have to fail. You have to be willing to fail to succeed. Those are the greatest lessons you learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I stumbled over myself for a lot of years, trying to do these events and projects, and 90% of them went really well, but I had a good 10% that was like, what was I thinking, or but I was willing to experience that. And we had to walk around and go door to door and school to school and all these things 20-some years ago. And then later on, people start to pick up your ideas, and they kind of promote it, and you kind of adjust, and then technology takes over, and you kind of learn that, and it just kind of grows and evolves.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way to evolve is to fail, and is to learn those lessons, and to have that passion of what you want to do.
Yeah.
And you have to be genuine and see yourself coming in life. Every time, like, you see, oh, wait a minute, what am I telling myself? Maybe this is not right to say this to myself. I'm comfortable with saying that to myself, but I know that's not right. Or I've done this before and this didn't work. So you have to say, wait a minute, I've done this, I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go the other direction, because I've learned from those lessons. But the only way you learn from those lessons is to fall down. So I'm willing to fail.
Nice.
All the time, and you have to be to evolve.
That's really important. I think kids nowadays may not really know what that's like, to risk failure, where all they see, and on social media, all they see is perfection.
So true.
With the filters and
my life is ever great. Everything's wonderful.
Everything edited,
Absolutely.
I'm glad I'm not a kid today.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard enough back then without social media, and I can't imagine being a kid nowadays when you've got to deal with cyberbullying and all that.
It's interesting you say that, because when I have the opportunity to speak at the schools and things, I would ask students, because I remember 100 years ago when I was in high school, you want to keep something to yourself, but maybe something gets out and the class knows about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh my goodness, oh my God, these people know about this. Now, you put it on a Facebook, and 1,000 people know about why you're going back in school. So that type of pressure
Yeah.
I would ask the young people, how do you deal with that type of pressure? And they seem to adapt, but it's a very difficult thing.
Well, to them it's normal. You
Yeah,
know?
I don't even understand that. That's very hard. So you're right. What you say?
Well, I have noticed, I read the statistics, and there is an increase in suicide with young people.
That's very true.
And I recently did some kind of clarification on my life mission, and it is to save lives.
Wonderful. That's
and
great.
Simply put, to save lives.
Beautiful.
So we're going to talk more about that in the next segment. My guest is Edward Eways, and we're talking more about what we're doing in the world to help make it a better place.
Is that okay?
Yeah, so it's and then I haven't even sent you half the links that I've been getting recently.
I do
about,
appreciate your and I do. There's some
young, healthy people dying.
I know.
And the cover up with
I'm gonna
the
always.
COVID vaccine.
I will come back at you with a balanced approach, not where I disagree or agree.
Bring me the data.
Yeah.
That's all I can see.
Yeah, I don't have the data. I
have an unfair.
Well, you are also a public health person, so I would basically come with I will be more like neutral ground, but respect of other people's positions. But obviously, we do have to have the facts. We do have to not let misinformation deter us. And that's the problem with the society.
There's a lot that's being
misinformation screwed everybody up.
Covered,
disconnected.
Covered
everybody.
up. And it's funny because like here I am, Bill O'Shaughnessy is definitely a red party guy. He's a GOP.
But he allows all types of information.
He does, and I appreciate that very much. And I used to say, "Oh well, I'm a registered Democrat.
I'm an independent." Always have.
Well,
for me.
And now I feel like I have to qualify it because I live in Mount Vernon. Today's actually a voting day, and my vote doesn't count unless I'm a registered Democrat in Mount Vernon, because it's like 90% Democrat, and no Republican has won in many, many years. It's a matter of basically whoever wins the primary is basically the winner of the general.
There are certain areas that are one party.
Yeah, but and that's Mount Vernon. So I'm like, I want my vote to count.
Of course.
I want to vote in the primary, which is closed. You have to be Democrat to vote in the primary. Otherwise, I would probably be registered independent.
I'm independent
or
because
libertarian.
I feel that I can go either way, and I basically focus on policy.
Yeah.
What speaks to me.
Forget about the issue.
Yeah, because people, obviously the way a person looks and how they speak, Janelle, or how they come off, there's a part of that perception that sells, right? But then at the end of the day, you have to say, wait a second, what is going to last? Because that person won't always be in office, but the policy will last. And then the next person takes on that policy, and then you have to go through a whole process of changing the policy that works or doesn't.
That's right.
When it speaks to you, it doesn't. So I've learned to take a minute to get away from the show and the perception, do some little research on what the person actually stands for.
Yeah.
Because what happens is people vote just one line, one party way, and then they get the same bad policy.
Right.
So
yeah.
You see that now.
Policy
in
is everything.
It's what lasts. It's a person will be in office 4 years. A policy will be there 20.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come out of it takes so much more. So. That's how I vote. That's why I have to stay independent, because I just can't see myself being for one party.
Yeah, I mean, and if you feel your vote counts, then that's cool. But
there are some areas where I must say you vote, and it's going to go that color anyway, right? But for myself, I'm glad I have the right to do so.
Yeah.
A lot of people,
no, it's a very personal decision.
But certainly, maybe there are some things that could be fixed. So, sure.
Yeah, Mount Vernon is a kind of funny place, but the whole country has, we've got a lot that we really need to take a hard look at. I think.
Of course.
And COVID has really laid bare a lot of the inequities that have existed for a long time.
It's made, to me, it's exposed a lot, made things transparent that people weren't really aware of at the time.
Yeah.
And now they're aware of it. Yeah.
It's kind of brought public health into the public eye. People are like, well, that's public health? Yeah, it's public health.
They don't know until they hold
You know,
it into the mix.
Heart attack is not public health, but learning how to prevent it and being educated is, the education is the work of public health. All right, we're back on the air. All right.
Janelle on 1460 WVOX.
And we are back. This is our 4th of 4 segments for today.
I had a piece of paper that kept and I have a couple of names I want to say hi to when we're done because they work so hard.
Do it now.
Yeah. All right, so this is over at the Trump Plaza. I'm going to make this quick. These guys work really hard. Freddie, Markel, Joe, Didi, Francisco, Edwin, Sahad, Sophia, Chris, Raj, Victor, and Wesley. I don't normally do this type of stuff, but those guys over there work so hard and they serve so many people and keep me honest and keep me humble. So that's a little hello to those guys. But let's continue the show.
Shout out to friends and coworkers.
Janelle's laughing at me because I take out the little piece of paper to make sure I don't
like,
forget.
What's that?
What is that? It's not a love note. I promise.
You get back in your car and realize you forgot to pull the note out.
Exactly.
That was supposed to remind you.
Yeah.
So, what do you see for the future for us now that we're getting back together? We're starting to get back into our events, going to concerts,
Right.
Going back into restaurants. I don't know about you, but for me, there's something that's forever changed. Like there's a part of me that's damaged permanently. Least of all my trust in the CDC and the NIH and the government and what I believe has been straight out lies about the safety of certain things and the efficacy of certain things, and the reporting of accurate data that has not happened, and seeing entire institutions like the Metropolitan Opera, like the university where I attended in California. You cannot set foot in the building unless you have proof of vaccination, which to me is an absolute travesty. And I think seeing that requirement still in place in certain places is enormously sad to me.
And I respect, see, it's very important. And Janelle and I talked about this off camera. And now I'm actually more pro-vaccine. And I do.
I used to be.
And I do give credit to the scientists that develop these therapeutics and vaccines. But if anything COVID has taught me is that we have to respect the other point of view. And there are facts that I'm not, that I'm probably not aware of, that I haven't done the research with. So I am very always open as be a sponge in a sense to learn and listen. And I think that for me, the most important thing after COVID is we have to not just chop each other down if we have different points of view. And I think COVID, even though it was an awful thing, and I hope we never ever go through that again. It has.
Oh, we will. There's another pandemic being plandemic. It's in the works. It's coming.
I
mark my words.
As I agree to disagree.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, and I hope you're wrong too. But I do think that it has caused much transparency, and I do think it has exposed many things within our government, within different organizations. I believe those organizations are necessary, but obviously there is corruption and there is dishonesty and misinformation embedded in them, and there are people that politicize these things, which is very dangerous because
lives are at stake.
lives are, and we've
Mhm.
lost, 1 million, maybe more, so we have to be careful that we don't politicize these things, and then as a people, as a society, we have to
But
say
it's already politicized. That's the problem.
it is. But I do believe
because
that
it involves money.
absolutely, yes, absolutely, money to farmers, of course.
Follow the money.
Follow the money, and absolutely, money is definitely something that could be a motivation to that.
But public health is so underfunded.
It's
But finally, it's come out that public health can be used to help certain individuals make a lot of money in a very short period of time.
I'm not going to disagree with that. That is very true. I do want to be an optimist. I know you are an optimist
Oh
too.
yeah, this is our.
Yeah, we've
Let's
had this
finish with
back
that.
and
We've got
forth.
like 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your optimism.
Okay. Well, they said you couldn't fly. We flew. They said that you can't break the sound barrier. We broke sound. You can't go to the moon. We went to the moon, right?
Yep.
So I believe in that we do evolve as a people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, we have a ways to go. I'm not going to be naive to the fact.
Sure.
I think that I've seen people grow. I know I have grown. I have been more aware of things. I'm willing to continue to grow and to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel that we will get there. I'm not too sure when we will get there, but in the history of the world, including my own history, there's always people that said you can't or it's impossible, but it isn't impossible because I've seen those people be proven wrong.
Yeah.
And
you can't run a mile in less than 4 minutes.
It's happened. So
It's happened a lot.
I hope in our time, if we don't see it completely get to where we need to get to as a people and a society, we get halfway there. It's like shoot for the stars, but if I hit the moon, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
And that's like my viewpoint. But at the same time, I'm not naive, and I'm willing to be humble enough to listen and to embrace another point of view.
So share your social media before we go. How can people learn more about you, what you're doing?
Well, basically, I use Facebook. I have a YouTube channel under Edward Eways, Facebook under Edward Eways, Instagram under Edward Eways. I've been out there a long time. I'm not that old, everyone, but I've been blessed to be out there a long time doing different things, and I'm not hard to find.
EW
Eways.
Eways.
Edward Eways. But if I'm able to continue to promote positivity and to touch people, inspire people, and be that vessel to do that, and be blessed to have people like you invite me on shows.
Yeah.
I will continue the work, the artistic work, and the expression.
So what you got coming up next? What's your current project or next project or?
Well, I just did something with this the first selectman of Greenwich, Fred Camillo. We did a conversation piece that's on social media right now, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, on the sacrifices of public service, and what it takes, and what the sacrifices are, and how to get other people involved. And we're going to do another piece. I'm probably going to walk down Greenwich Avenue, this type of thing, and talk about the different businesses and where the communities are going, and trying to bring the Portchester Greenwich community together because we are neighbors. So it's almost like Portchester meets Greenwich. More unification, more that type of stuff I think is really good to do.
Yeah, they're really interwoven like little jigsaw puzzle pieces.
Exactly.
So the selectman is a fancy word for mayor.
Exactly.
He's basically the mayor of Greenwich, Connecticut.
That's their term.
So that's cool. So you had a sit-down conversation with him one-on-one.
One-on-one, and I wanted to strip away the onion, and I wanted to, you talk about the accolades and things that we did and titles, but I only wanted like 10% of that. I wanted to get to the person itself.
Nice.
And I think that's.
And this is a new series. You've got conversations with
public figures, basically.
Very cool.
But it's going to be about the individual and the person, what they went through, and the positive and negatives, and why public service is important, and the sacrifices, and how much you give full access to yourself, because everybody has a pass to you when you're doing public service.
Yeah.
You put yourself out there, as you know.
You lack a degree of privacy.
Sure. And you got to be willing to do that, but have a balance where you got to say, wait a second, okay, now I got to catch up on my personal life as well.
Yeah.
So you're private, but when you're doing things in the public, people have to have full access to you. Yeah.
That's cool, and that's helps young people to learn, what's involved if they decide to run for office and to be a public servant.
Public servant, yeah. Or just do
Our
something.
future leaders.
Future leaders,
Yeah.
or absolutely. Or just do something in the community. It doesn't have to be public. It could be in behind the scenes, but you're still dealing with lots of people and you're dealing with organizations. And it's a good way to know how to deal with so many different types of people and kind of relate on their level and get to that middle of compromise and work on something together to better society. And I think that's a powerful tool, and I encourage everyone to be authentic in themselves and try to do that.
I love it. It's great. So we're going to wrap this up. We're just finishing up. So any other comments, you can find Edward Eways, Eways, on social media. And there'll be a link up soon for so you can watch the video that we recorded a couple days ago.
That's right.
Have a great week, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.